Edison Township. Thank you.
Joe Petrucelli.
Joe Petrucelli, 62 Revere. Through the chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Baumann a few questions. I just was privy to a report, apparently, and it was an application put to the redevelopment. In that report, it says there's a $150,000 budget. There's some money in it for him. So I guess my question is how much is he being paid for all this work that's been done? I don't think, have any of the councils been privy to that application? I think it was back in December when this application supposedly surfaced, when you voted on an ordinance to explore redevelopment agency. I mean, that's back in December. We're in now June, and I think most of you are seeing it. It's a pretty informative report. Interesting in there, he appoints himself as the bond counsel, and then he appoints himself as the special redevelopment counsel. Also, I'd like to ask Mr. Baumann, is he familiar with NCAP Holding, LLC? Just so that people at Edison know, that was a payment in lieu of tax plan in Rutherford, where the company's now bankrupt. So these things are dangerous. To do what Ms. Pearlstein did, she quoted Oklahoma. I'm going to talk about San Diego, where actually a grand jury reported findings that their redevelopment agency should be dismantled because of the absorbent in salaries. You people are talking about deficit budgets, problems with taxes, potential layoffs, and you can just create a new agency to create more fees and more costs for the taxpayer. This is a 95% built out town, I think, a 90% built out town. I think it's about time that the council takes more responsibility and seeks more people. We have a 40-person member thing with the school board right now, exploring the bonding and trying to help the schools. It's the most diversified group I've ever worked with in Edison. It's from everybody and anybody that wanted to be part of it. That's the type of development agencies you should have. You should have the people that live in those communities come out, let them make their suggestions, because they're the ones that are impacted. Like the prior speaker just spoke, they're not going to care about it. Most of them are not going to be from this town. And if they are, I can guarantee you somewhere along the line, and you just read the Soprano book. It was the most eye-opening book I think I've ever read on the Soprano state. And a lot of it talks about these redevelopment agencies, how they can award contracts that go around the government. It's serious stuff, how the lawyers create all these fees. And if they don't make the fees in that development town, they make it in another development town. You are the people. I don't think any of you spoke about talking about a redevelopment agency when you ran for office. I mean, those are the types of things that I think the voters want to see. Has anybody seen that state of New Jersey application and the details that were in it? I think it's important. I mean, those are the types of things. You're voting on it, and this thing's literally almost a half of a phone book filled with information. So I caution you that you're making an impact that's going to impact the taxpayers. Any of these TIFs, pilot programs, they're dangerous. We had Arcadia in here. The mayor was ready to refinance their FIABs. We saw a different way. You refinance it. The town got capital to improve the much-needed firehouses, all the other improvements that they wanted, the new carpeting, the things like that. You need to take your time with these decisions. You are new council people, and you're talking about giving away an authority that you don't even, I don't think you really understand. But it's something that I think you really need to rethink about, because it's going to hurt this town. I don't care what anybody says. You're taking it, and you're taking the people's voice. It's an end around the people. It's bonding around the people and using the people's taxes without giving them say. Is that the type of government? Is that an open government? I don't think so. It's an end around. It's not right. The state senators, and a lot of them are now talking about legislating because of the state budget. The biggest problem in the budget is the debt. And now they're talking about that the only time the state's going to go out to bond without taxpayer approval is if there's literally an emergency. Because if you take away the power from the people that are representing the people, and maybe the people will say no and make a mistake and misread a bond, but then you come back and you explain it better. But it should have the approval of the voters. Anything significant should require a vote. You would not let somebody take your credit card and run it up without your permission. And that's basically what you're doing. This mayor's first criticism of the Spadoro administration was his credit card use. That's what bonding is. And you all are reading the newspapers about subprime lending and the collateralized debt obligation failures and the people that are losing a home. That's called debt. That is not a good thing, especially not well thought out thing. And my other question is, who makes the plan? You said we do the plan. Who's going to develop the plan that goes to the redevelopment agency? Is it Mr. Baumann? Because he's the redevelopment attorney. Does he give you the plan that goes to you, then you give the plan that goes back to the redevelopment agency? It sounds like there's not enough independence in it and objectivity. And you know, whether something is illegal is irrelevant. It's the appearance that matters to the public. And that's how you get public trust, by making the appearance transparent. And this is not transparency.
Thank you.
Council President, if I might, two speakers now have referenced an application to the local government services, local finance board, an application on the redevelopment agency. I thought perhaps I had misplaced it or never quite seen it or was negligent. I checked with Mrs. Murphy before this meeting and earlier during the week and asked if this application had ever been provided to the members of the council. I wanted to see if I had missed it. And Mrs. Murphy told me no, it had not been provided to the members of the council. And the reason I mention that, because two speakers now have asked if any of us have seen it. So unless we had some creative sources, no, we haven't seen it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stevens?